All right, Kansas City Chiefs, AFC West. I'm going to cheat here a little bit, and I'm going to say 4 different guys in 2 different positions, but that's the most important. It's the left side of the offensive line.
Yes.
How's it shake out? Josh Simmons, Kingsley Suamadi-Ia, Jalen Moore, Wanya Morris. Who wins what job? Who plays where? How well do they play? That's it. That to me is the most important players for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Josh Simmons, who I thought was the most NFL-ready guy in the draft, but his red flag was brutal patellar injury. And as you've pointed out so many times, and obviously your background in medicine, you know how tough these things are, sports medicine. You know how tough these things are to recover from. If he is young enough to recover properly, and the docs did a great job, the Kansas City Chiefs have got one of the biggest swing steals in the NFL draft. It's going to be one of those things you can look back on in 10 years and say, my God, do you remember when Josh Simmons fell to the Chiefs and he was the blindside protector for Patrick Mahomes? Are they going to start him week 1, or are they going to let him continue to rehab until week 5? Who knows? I think it could be beneficial to wait till week 5 because you get those other guys some reps. Because you never know when you need them, and those reps will be really, really important.
All right, Los Angeles Chargers. I went with Trey Harris, their second-round wide receiver, for the sole reason that outside of Ladd McConkey, there is not a single reliable target on this roster. Quentin Johnson, some interesting improvements from year 1 to year 2. I would not qualify him as reliable. I don't know if he'll ever qualify as reliable. But Trey Harris could be. He has so much better ball skills, much better hands, and is, he was a 5th-year guy coming out. You hope he is NFL ready coming into the league. Obviously didn't run a ton of routes at Ole Miss, but is a physically gifted human being to be able to run a bigger route tree than he did. So how quickly he can build rapport, how quickly he can get up to speed in the offense to give them and Justin Herbert a plan B when Ladd McConkey's getting doubled. That's the biggest thing in my opinion.
I think that Justin Herbert is a huge part of their success, obviously, and how he performs in the big game will be paramount. But I think a guy like Khalil Mack is who I'm going to name, because it's not often that a player – he's been on 3 teams. It's not often a player's been on 3 teams and had that level of respect from teammates, fan bases, everybody, and you produce. Khalil Mack's done that in Los Angeles or in Oakland. He did that in Chicago, and he's done that in Los Angeles with the Chargers. I think you need that kind of leadership on the defensive side of the ball, and obviously you need that kind of production. They've lost some pieces down there in the Chargers building, so particularly on that front, Khalil Mack's going to have to step up, be a huge part of their success.
Denver Broncos. I went with RJ Harvey. I just think their running game was a mess. Javonte Williams had obviously lost a big step, was not any sort of big play threat whatsoever. RJ Harvey can be. I mean, ran the low 4.4s at Combine, was unbelievably productive over his time at UCF, and no reason to think that he can't just be the feature bell cow sort of back in that offense, and it's a good offensive line in front of him. So I think RJ Harvey transforming this run game is what I'm most looking forward to and would be the most important step forward for this Broncos team.
And Sean Payton's daughter loves the pick.
Loved it.
I'm going to put Evan Ingram down. Stick with me. This guy can, he's heating up NBA Jam style, okay? When he heats up and when he has somebody who can get him the football, he is prolific. And I think that in Sean Payton's offense, he will be given the opportunity to be a big part of their explosive games. And with the way that they run the football, the way they're constructed in their offensive line, they've got a bunch of glass eaters. You just tipped your cap to them. And I could talk about O-line, but I'd rather talk about the quarterback's best friend. That's a tight end, Evan Ingram. He's going to have a huge year. It's going to be a big part of the success for Bo Nix.
All right, Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, Geno Smith, the big headliner this offseason alongside Ashton Jeanty. But I think Christian Wilkins, who was your headliner a year ago, is the most important player in terms of success. You know what you're getting out of Smith and Jeanty. That was kind of like the reason why you made the moves to go get both those guys. But Christian Wilkins is coming off a Jones fracture and has had some setbacks already that were publicly stated by the team. You paid him $100 million because he is a dominant force against the run. I mean, truly one of the best in the NFL, at least one of the best, probably the best playmaking D tackle against the run in the NFL. And a Jones fracture, though, anytime you're talking foot, lower body injuries for a guy that weighs over 300 pounds, you're worried. That is not something that you want just because of the stress that 300 pounds consistently puts on those areas of the body. So that's the player where if he comes back and he's the Chris Wilkins of old, and you got Max Crosby alongside him, because you've got a dominant defensive line. But if he's not, I think you still have the up and down nature of this defense that we saw a year ago.
I am really excited to see Max Crosby under this new regime. I'm really excited, obviously, to see Christian Wilkins healthy. That's going to be a huge part of it. I think Chip Kelly is going to be the most important part of this unit because he's going to be the glue that holds all these pieces together. Obviously, the Raiders fans, they love Brock Bowers. They're excited about Geno Smith to have some semblance of a concrete quarterback, a number one guy. Ashton Genty, the pick is a home run. I put Michael Mayer down as an important guy because they're going to live in 12 personnel the entire year. And you and I have talked at length about this. Brock Bowers is going to be featured, but I think Chip Kelly's going to look to have a balanced front. And they're going to have to, have two tight ends that don't necessarily have to be George Kittle types in the run game, but guys that are willing. And it's going to be a big flavor for this offense. Ashton Genty being handed the football. You need to have mirrored looks, meaning, the formation looks the same on both sides. That's the 12 personnel stuff. The tight ends are going to be huge.